Kapow, where we can show you the world. Shining, shimmering, splendid! I'm Sonya.
And I'm Al, and quickly, before Sonya bursts into song, I should tell you we don't have time to show you the whole world, but we are here at King's Comics today to show you bits and pieces of the world of Disney.
Yeah, but that doesn't make a good first line for a song, though. I mean, seriously, what rhymes with Disney?
Bisney, Kisney, Fizney. No, I got nothing.
Yeah, see? So now we're gonna have to do the intro without any singing. And I had a whole dance routine planned and everything.
Well, sorry to have missed that. We will, though, have reviews of some Disney comics, as well as some other comics that take fairy tales in a darker direction.
Ray's going to be in to review some Disney collectibles too.
And of course, the reason for this Disney special, we went to see the new movie Maleficent, so we'll be having a chat about that. So what else was going to be included in this musical extravaganza?
Cartoon birds were going to fly in, and a whole bunch of action figures were going to come to life and dance and sing!
Okay, that just sounds terrifying to me.
I want to be where the people are. I want to see them dancing, walking around on those, what do you call them again? Oh, feet. Flipping your fins, you don't get too far. But legs are required for running. Over the years, the works of Disney have made their way into pretty much every medium. I mean, aside from the movies, there's TV shows, computer games, theatre musicals, toys, and, of course, comics.
Yeah, which is the area we plan to look at today. First off the bat, we're going to take a gander at a spin-off from the hugely popular Disney Pixar trilogy, Toy Story, with The Return of Buzz Lightyear, written by Jesse Blaze Snyder, with art by Nathan Watson.
The story starts off with Andy receiving a new toy. Pretty standard for a Toy Story tale, and a familiar plot device from the movies. But when the toy turns out to be a new Buzz Lightyear, the problems begin.
Yeah, since most kids don't tend to want doubles that they can later sell one of on eBay, Andy decides to return the new Buzz and get something else.
Hence, the return of Buzz Lightyear. It's a pun.
Yeah. And that, unfortunately, is about as good as the humour gets in this one. The new Buzz, understandably enough, decides he doesn't want to be returned, and does a switcheroo with the original, leading Andy's toys to mount a rescue expedition to the toy shop.
There's really not a lot that's new in this book, is there? The rescue from the toy shop, Buzz meeting other Buzzers that don't realise they're toys, it's pretty much all stuff we've seen before. And as you said, the humour isn't exactly top shelf.
Yeah, I mean, there's a few movie references, Arnold Schwarzenegger, stuff like that, but none of it's particularly clever. And I think even the younger readers that this is aimed at are going to feel that it's a bit of a letdown in comparison to the movies.
Yeah.
I'd probably give it a miss.
Okay, moving on to a slightly more young adult area. We have Disney Kingdom's Seekers of the Weird, written by Brandon Seifert with art by Carl Malign. The backstory to this comic is actually pretty cool.
Yeah, apparently one of Disney's Imagineers, Rolly Crump, collected a series of bizarre artifacts to be included in the Haunted Mansion exhibit. But when Uncle Walt saw them all, he decided he'd rather have them as a whole separate exhibition called the Museum of the Weird. Now, although that exhibit never actually eventuated, it did become the inspiration for this comic.
The story revolves around Maxwell and Melody Keep, two teenagers whose lives get thrown into peril when their parents are kidnapped by taxidermied monsters. And this is the least bizarre thing about their day. In short order, they are scooped up by their long-lost Uncle Roland and taken through a magic door into the Museum of the Weird, where just about everything wants to kill them, except for the furniture, which is surprisingly friendly.
It's kind of a running thing with Disney, isn't it? Friendly furniture. In any case, this comic is just about as chaotic as it sounds, and spends little to no time explaining itself as it barrels along, placing these hapless kids in a variety of dangerous situations. There are twists and turns aplenty, a good dose of humour, and, you know, I quite enjoyed it.
Yeah, so did I. It kind of reminds me of the Disney movies like Bedknobs and Broomsticks. It is a fantastic read, and it's good for younger readers too.
Absolutely. Now, finally, we come to one of the all-time classics, Donald Duck's rich and irascible Scottish uncle. The compilation of Scrooge stories, The Life and Times of Scrooge McDuck by Don Rosa, was the winner of the Eisner Award for Best Serialized Story in 1995. It's a wonderful collection that shows the rise of the richest duck in the world.
Yeah, it's quite a lovely read, isn't it? I mean, before picking up this book, my only contact with his character was the animated series DuckTales.
Woo! Sorry, it's like a twitch. I can't actually control that.
Okay. My point is that there is a lot more to this character than just swimming around in big pools of money. We see Scrooge's life as he goes from being a shoeshine boy in 1877 all the way to the heights of his riches, with a variety of awesome adventures along the way. and by the end you realise why he treasures that first dime he ever earned. It's actually quite an epic tale.
Yeah.
An epic duck tale.
Woo! Dude, that's not cool.
Hey Ray!
Hey Sonya, hey guys.
So what Disney collectibles have you brought in for us?
Well, 2013 marked the 85th birthday of Disney's flagship character, Mickey Mouse, and so there's no better place to start than with Disney's modern-day Mickey Mouse figure. Jim Shaw has created a special Mickey Through the Years collection that highlights several milestones over the decades. Each hand-painted figure stands between 6 and 7.5 inches tall and is made of polystone resin.
Now this is the last in the collection, isn't it?
Yes.
And look, there is no mistaking that triumphant pose.
Yeah, you can almost hear the "oh boy" as he swings his fist into the air. Look, even though it's made of polystone, I love how they look as though they could have been carved from wood. Much of Shaw's work draws on early American folk art, and that's where you see a lot of this patching and quilting patterns in his sculpts.
Yes, together with a huge palette of playful colours. I like the sculpt of this piece, but the rosy cheeks are a little on the heavy side. It's the same with the apostrophe-like pattern on his pants. You can see something similar on the Sorcerer Mickey in this line, and I think
Yes.
the pattern's more appropriate for him than this Mickey.
Yep.
I'm gonna give this little one a borrow.
Look, I agree with those points, and I also think that this sculpt is so expressive that pattern work can be a little overwhelming on this figure too. I prefer the Sweetheart Mickey in this line. That's it. This particular figure, I'm going to give a borrow as well.
Cool. Now moving on to something else iconically Disney.
Yes?
Princesses.
Yes, that's right. To celebrate Maleficent, we thought we'd take a look at the Aurora Couture de Force figure by Disney. She's part of a 7-piece collection inspired by Disney's reigning princesses and vampy villains, which are all embellished in haute couture. No detail is overlooked as faux jewels and opalescent paints bring each sculpture to life. And there's a whole bunch of them that you can get, from your Snow White to your Maleficent, but there's something about Aurora that I wanted to pick out and take a closer look at today.
Well, she's certainly adorned with sparkling crown, necklace, twinkling dress and gold trimming. The colours on her dress are really lovely too, ranging from pinks on one side to the blues on the other.
Yeah, those pastel colours make a lovely contrast to her golden hair, which is also daintily crafted. The whole piece itself is lovely work. I like the pose and her delicate hands, and a special mention to that flower train on her other side. I think the head though is slightly too large, and though the face is innocent, there's something about her eyes that is slightly melancholic. Can you see that, Sonya?
I can, but I don't think it's a problem with this particular character.
Ah, right. Well, neither do I, actually. It rather suits her.
I think so. Look,
Yeah.
I think she's really beautiful, and I'm definitely going to give her a buy.
Yeah.
And I think her multi-layered dress is definitely noteworthy.
Yes, it's very nice. Well, look, I'm going to give her a borrow. She's a lovely piece, but there's a couple in the collection I think are a little better, like the Cruella de Vil, for instance. That's a stunning figure.
So is that it?
No, also wanted to check out these awesome coins. Each of these coins are from the Perth Mint. One side features Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II, the 2014 date, and the monetary denomination. The coin's reverse side features a sculpted representation of Disney's Mickey Mouse at the wheel of his handcrafted ship. The inscription, Steamboat Willie 1928, completes the design. One is 99.9% pure silver. The other is 99.9% pure gold.
They both come with a certificate of authenticity. Now the silver is limited to 10,000 pieces worldwide and the gold 1,000.
Yes, that's right, but the gold is already sold out.
Crazy.
I know. All right, what's your verdict?
I'm not a coin collector, but I can see the appeal of these. I love the wooden boxes, and the vintage Mickey on the packaging is really cute.
Yeah.
I'm giving it a buy.
Yeah, look, I think they're cool. A great collectible to hold on to as well, and it's a good time to get into them because there's a whole bunch of characters due in this line.
Yeah.
I'm going to give them a buy as well.
Excellent.
Because there's coin collecting and there's coin collecting. This is coin collecting.
What'd you say?
But it's all in the inflection.
Yeah, but it needs to make sense.
The meaning is in the inflection. It's coin collecting and it's coin collecting.
One of the lasting legacies of Disney has to be the way that they've drawn from the old stories. Fairy tales and fables from the likes of Hans Christian Andersen and the Brothers Grimm, all passed down to new generations through cartoons.
A lot of these stories have been heavily sanitised, however. I mean, The Little Mermaid wouldn't be such a family favourite if Ariel throws herself off into the ocean to drown. and then dissolved into foam.
Yeah, or if the evil queen at the end of Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs was sentenced to putting on red-hot metal shoes and then dancing till she died.
Yeah.
Brothers Grimm indeed.
However, the darker side of these stories is fascinating and has led to a lot of comics putting an adult slant on the old tales. Possibly the most well-known of these is Bill Willingham's best-selling series, Fables.
For those unfamiliar with the series, Fables works on the premise that every storybook character ever written about actually exists, and that many of them have been driven from their own realities into ours by an invading army led by an evil overlord known only as the Adversary.
With hundreds of fairy tales to choose from, the Fables series is never at a loss for characters and has spawned a number of spin-offs, including Jack of Fables and, my personal favourite, Cinderella, written by Chris Robertson with art by Sean McManus. Since leaving the homelands, Cinderella has come a long way, from sweeping the hearth for her ugly sisters to becoming a world-class secret agent.
The two collections that have been released so far, Fables Are Forever and From Fabletown with Love, are a must for fans of comics like Danger Girl, full of explosive action and twisty-turny espionage, and a slew of your favourite fairy tale characters.
Another spin-off that's well worth a look is Fairest in All the Land, written by Willingham and featuring artwork by a dizzying array of talent. Someone is picking off a who's who of Fabletown's prettiest women, and, once again, it's up to Cinderella to get her hands dirty.
I'll admit that I did actually drift away from Fables a while back, but reading the Cindy stories has piqued my interest anew. She is fast becoming one of my favourite heroines in comics.
Now, from fairy tale princesses to fairy tale creatures, we come to a book that blends the genres of fantasy and post-apocalyptic drama, Hinterkind, written by Ian Edgington with art by Francesco Trifoli.
This is another series with a strong female in the lead role, which is always good to see. Prosper Monday is a young woman living in the ruins of New York City, after a disease called the Blight has reduced humanity to a few scattered outposts. This would be bad enough by itself, but the near extinction of the human race has brought back to the surface creatures long thought to be imaginary.
Elves, goblins, fairies and more who have spent thousands of years living in secret have returned to claim the world, dropping human beings to the bottom of the food chain. Literally, since apparently we taste lovely.
There's a lot of backstory to lay down, as well as a bucket load of characters that need to be introduced in this first volume, but the stage is set for a pretty epic showdown between the races. It's like Walking Dead meets Lord of the Rings.
It's certainly off to a good start, with a lot of high-concept storytelling, Gaia theory, racial prejudice and military-industrial complex all getting some focus. Also, the first book ends with what seem to be Nazi vampires flying an airship into the fray.
Which is always a good way to kick anything off.
Yeah.
So there you go. There's a couple of adult options in the fairy tale arena for you to get your teeth into. There's actually a bunch of them out there. It seems like a growth industry.
Hey, did you know in one version of Cinderella, the ugly sister cuts off her toes to fit into the shoe, and then a bird flies in her face and pecks her eyes out so she's blind?
Yeesh.
Okay, we've just seen Disney's Maleficent. Sonya, we know you're a very big fan. Let us know what you thought of the film.
I loved it.
Yep.
I was very concerned because, as we know, Maleficent is my favourite Disney villainess. But my love has been received and I adored it. I thought it was beautifully shot. There was some kind of Jim Henson-ish kind of feelings to some of the fairy tale creatures, which hark back to my childhood, so it was a bit of a rosy kind of thing for me to look at these little forest creatures going, oh, they look like they're from the Storyteller. And that was really, really beautiful. I thought Angelina Jolie was just beautiful as Maleficent, both at the beginning when she is very lovely and being a good fairy, and then as she develops on and horrible things happen and she turns into the Maleficent that we know and love. And then again, her whole progression I just thought was really, really beautiful. Angelina Jolie looks at things really, really well as well. She's got perfectly sculpted eyebrows. The lenses that they had in her eyes were working beautifully. I thought that was stunning. And it was just, there were so many wonderful set pieces that I just kind of sat and looked at and reveled in going, this is the fairy tale of my childhood. This is what I wanted to see. This is what I saw in my head when I read those books and when I, watched the movies. And yeah, sure, the original cartoons, they weren't quite up there with the special effects, but in my head, I could fill in those bits. I could go on and on and on, but that's kind of boring, but I really, really loved it.
All right, cool. Al?
I disagree on almost every point.
He's a bad fairy.
It's been said that maybe I'm dead inside. Maybe that's the case, but this did little to nothing for me, I've got to say. Just very, very little. I didn't like the central premise of it. Just didn't work for me. I mean, they've gone, okay, so what we're doing is, turns out Maleficent isn't really a bad guy. She just had some bad stuff happen to her and she's misunderstood. We've seen that. It's Wicked. It's Oz the Great and Powerful. We've seen this, and it's not done that well here. What happens to her isn't big enough to make her evil. There needed to be more. It needed to be her entire race was wiped out. She needed to be proper evil. She was never proper evil.
Do you think that would have been too much for a Disney film, though?
Maybe the genocide would have been too much for the younger viewers. Maybe.
Yep.
But the fact is, I mean. Speaking of that, there was the one scene that I really liked when she rocks up at the christening, and that was classic. That was just, she had the white teeth and she had the big grin and the little evil laugh and as I'm cursing you. That was great. And she was all doing the evil thing and she was like, I'm getting my own back and it's curse and it's great. And then 20 seconds later, she's like, oh, but I'll make sure the baby's okay. It just undermined the entire thing. It was like, okay, so now there's absolutely zero stakes in this entire film because of what you just did. And yes, I understand this is largely aimed at children. I get it, but I think the parents have got to have something to see as well.
Yep.
And this just, it failed to deliver on almost every level. There was nothing to really care about in this film for me. It didn't work.
All right. Well, I did enjoy the film. There are certainly some holes. There's certainly some elements that I can't really forgive. I won't give them away as such. But on the whole, I thought it was a nice retelling of this story. It did surprise me and it did move me in a few moments. I had an enjoyable experience. I thought visually it was pretty nice. I thought it was some great visual work there. Some really cool action scenes as well. Do you think Angelina Jolie did justice to that classic character, that iconic character?
I'm scared to say, but yeah, I think she did. The thing that I liked is that we know the evil Maleficent. We've seen that in Sleeping Beauty. We've seen it in the books, in cartoons, in various representations of her. And that's what I love what Angelina Jolie did with this character and what the story writers did with this, is that we showed the other side of her. You don't just get born evil kind of thing. It's something happens, you get created. Especially it kind of goes along with the classic fairy tales that all fairies are kind of good to begin with until something happens and then they go dark. And I think Angelina Jolie kind of encapsulated that. I think it was really wonderful, and I think it was enough for her to turn evil and then regret.
Yeah, I quite enjoyed that development as well as a character. Al?
That one scene in the christening, I thought she had it down pat. I thought that scene was great.
Okay. When you consider the old, classic, fairy tale, and you compare it to this, do you think this is a reinvention of that story?
I don't know if it's a reinvention. I actually wouldn't call it a reinvention. I still think the Sleeping Beauty story, as it stands alone. This is more of almost an extended history of it is kind of the Sleeping Beauty story, but it's not about Aurora. It's about Maleficent, and that's the focus. So, companion piece rather than reinvention.
Okay.
Yeah.
Al?
Oh, look, it's certainly not a replacement. I think they can both be enjoyed on their merits, basically depending on what you're going for at the time. I think they stand aside each other.
Yeah.
Okay, I recently saw Sleeping Beauty and I was bored, so I'm quite happy for this to take its place. And
Keep spite on him now.
and I think that this will be. I think for me, it's a bit of a reinvention. It's bringing in the new audience and a lot of the younger generation. They're going to jump on board this. I think this will be the classic of their sort of time. So that's what we thought, and here's what some of you thought. So what did you guys think of the film?
Oh, it was incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it really just stood up to its expectations. Like, been so excited for it to come out.
I really liked it.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if it's a children's movie, but it was really, really entertaining. Angelina Jolie looked fabulous and was amazing. So all in all, I'd give it a 5 out of 5.
It was really good. It was much better than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
I already had high hopes for it anyway, but no, it was really good, mixing the old story with the new story.
Yeah, it was great. I highly recommend it. Angelina Jolie was absolutely brilliant. So yeah, definitely go and see it. Really good movie. hooks you from start to finish.
Yeah, it was really great. Visually very beautiful.
Yeah, man, it was great. It had some nice dry humour to it, and it was, yeah, quite enjoyable.
It was very good.
Yeah?
Yeah, it was really good.
I thought it was more emotional than I thought it was going to be. Yeah, I didn't know it was going to be that sad.
Do you think Angelina Jolie did justice to that classic character?
I think so. She's very poised and elegant and graceful. She does it really well.
When I think back to that character, I think of her being really scary, but it was kind of nice to see that side, that she had a really soft side.
And I found myself laughing quite a lot, and I didn't expect that in the movie.
Yeah.
And I think that I could really relate to her, and when you looked in her beautiful eyes, like you could see a human side to this crazy beast.
Yeah.
And her cheekbones were amazing.
Absolutely, she completely turned the entire story on its head and did it in such a compelling way. Disney's wonderful like that. It can reinvent the fairy tale even all these years later.
Yes, she's definitely Maleficent.
I think she's modified it a lot, she's put a lot of pretty heavy issues for like kids, she went a lot more, a lot deeper with it than the original did, I think.
I think she gave it this scary but lovable character that everyone falls in love with, so yeah, it was great.
I think it's kind of different because it's sort of more grown up than the other.
It gives you a different perspective on what's the story. Of the story. Yeah.
Do you think this is a great reinvention of that fairy tale?
Yeah, I think it is. It's a good spin on it as well, so we get to see kind of the dark side of it, but then it actually is quite nice.
Yeah, and it's always good to have a 3D experience as well, as opposed to the old 2D.
Well, that brings us to the end of our Disney special.
Yes, and we got all the way to the end without anybody singing a song from Frozen. I call that a triumph.
Oh, come on now. Let it go.
Don't.
What? I'm just standing here. Here I stand and here I'll stay.
I'm serious about this.
Now let the storm rage on.
No, okay, no. Guys, we'll be back soon with more comics, cartoons, and collectibles. So don't forget to subscribe and comment.
Ow.
Bye.
Ow. Ow. Ow.
What?
Do you want to build a snowman?
No, you know what, Spider-Man? I do not want to build a snowman.